Tacos de puerco en chile rojo con nopales. Hi, and welcome back to my kitchen. The next page in our taco manual takes us to a favorite of the street vendors of Mexico City. The ones that do what are called tacos de guisados. And it is a pork braise that has nopal cactus in it. And we're going to use guajillo chilies, a little arbol for spice. I'm going to show you how to do the whole thing because it is one of my favorites as well. But I've got a little prep work to do. I'm going to clean all of these guajillo chilies, the ones that you can find in every single Mexican grocery store, just by tearing the top off, opening them up, and getting all of the seeds out of them. And you don't have to be meticulous about that at all. Then I'm going to cut up this pork into small cubes, and I am going to brown it. You could brown it as is tradition in fresh rendered pork lard, or you could use oil for that. And I'll meet you back here when all of that prep is finished. Okay, I've got two quick tips for you. If you find cutting meat like that really cumbersome, then I would suggest that you put the meat into the freezer for about 30-45 minutes to really firm it up. It'll make it so much easier than just refrigerator temperature meat. Every time that you put something new in that pan, there needs to be a nice coating of fat on the bottom of the pan. If you don't see that, then add a little bit more because the browning will happen only with the fat. Okay, I lied. I'm still browning the meat, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to work with these nopales. Now, in a lot of the Mexican grocery stores, you will be able to buy these already cleaned, but in some, they are not cleaned. So this is the way you do it. It's not frightening. You can do this. You go around the outside of this is called a penca in Spanish, but the paddle of nopal. When we get to this area where it was connected to the plant, cut that off. Continue to go around here. You want to get all that edge off. And the reason you want to get the edge off is because you'll never be able to find all the little spines in there, so we just cut it off. So push that to the side. Now you're going to get the nodes off of here by holding down. You'll notice I'm working with a pair of tongs here. I'm not trying to hold it with my hands. That would be disastrous, okay? So we're going to scrape, holding the knife perpendicular to the cactus paddle, and just scrape off all the nodes. First time you do this, it may seem a little bit awkward. You don't know what you're doing, but the little nodes are brown, so you just want to scrape them off of there. When you see the guys in the big markets in Mexico cleaning these for their clientele, oftentimes they will be using a knife and going parallel to, but you have to know what you're doing or you're just going to cut through the nopal cactus. So I always recommend to everybody, if you don't do this really regularly, like a nopal vendor in a market, then hold your knife perpendicular to the nopal paddle and scrape off all those dark nodes. Now, when we get all of those scraped off here, we're going to cut this up. The cutting can be done in one of two ways. You can either do little cubes, which is fine. You could also do strips, and sometimes when you go into your Mexican market, you will find that the nopales are cut in little strips. It's just a matter of preference there. Okay, making sure to get all of the nodes off there. So I'm going to cut this up like this into slightly smaller than about 1/2 inch pieces, cutting across and then cutting this way. And then I have a couple more of these nopales to do. And I will be finished with the nopales and the browning of the meat when you meet me back here. The nopales, I have put in a little bit of oil here in this pan. And they just go in there with no liquid, just a little bit of oil. I'm going to put a top on that. I got it over medium heat. I'm going to put a top on it And I am going to come back to it in 5 minutes. I'll show you what will happen. Those nopales will start to ooze out all that sticky stuff, that ochre-like sticky stuff, the stuff everybody hates about nopales. But then we're going to uncover it and we're going to cook the nopales until they're dry, and that'll get rid of all of that stuff. This pan that I browned the pork in, I'm going to use for the toasting of the chilies. So we're going to toast them. This is oil toasting. A lot of times you see me doing dry toasting of the chilies. But I've torn the chilies, by the way, into flat pieces here and put them down in the oil. This will go very fast because this oil is pretty hot here. Again, I've got this one over medium heat. Now, the toasting of the chilies is an important part of this recipe. If you don't toast the chilies, it'll have a one-dimensional flavor to it. So as these are toasted, I'm going to collect them in a small bowl here, and we will soak them. Standard procedure for making any red chili sauce is to toast and soak the chilies after you have taken the seeds and stems out of them there. So you can see that this goes very fast. Now I have some arbol chilies here because this is sort of street vendor food, so you want to make it a little bit spicy, and arbol will give us exactly that. One of the things that I notice here in the pan that is really drawing my attention is that when I lay these chilies into the hot oil, they change colors when they're toasted. They lighten up in their color. I'm put the last little group of them in here. And they go from that dark cranberry red to a much lighter color. And it just takes seconds. You don't want to burn these because then you'll be introducing a kind of bitter flavor into it. Okay, so those are done. This will go super fast. So throw the arbols in there, and after a couple of seconds, they'll be ready. Pull those guys out. I am going to I'm not going to turn it off. I'm going to throw the garlic cloves in there. Those are just peeled garlic cloves. Turn it down some. We want to cook them so that they have that beautiful, rich, sweet garlic flavor. While we are letting those guys go, I'm going to get some hot water here, cover the chilies with the hot water, and then I'm going to weight them with a plate to keep them submerged so that they rehydrate quickly. This will take about 20 minutes or something like that, but I'll just put this plate on there to keep them submerged. And I've already got some nice browning going, but I got to lower the temperature here because I want to make sure that these garlic cloves are cooked through. And then I'll throw them in over here with the meat. No, I won't do that. That would be a bad thing. I'm going to put them into the blender jar where we're going to make the base of the sauce. And I will meet you back when those chilies are ready. Okay, I lied again. You got to see what these nopales look like when that 5-minute timer went off. So this is the look. Okay, so when you stir around in here, you'll see that all that really sticky stuff. Okay, that isn't anybody's favorite thing. So we're going to uncover them and then just let them cook for another 5 or 7, 8 minutes, something like that, until all of that mucilaginous stuff has evaporated. These chilies are soft now, completely rehydrated, so they'll go in here. And then we've got the garlic's already in there. Spices to go in, about a teaspoon of black pepper. See how much that is. Need a little bit more than that. And about a half teaspoon of cumin. It's kind of funny because everybody thinks about Mexican food as being completely shot through with the flavor of cumin, but in Mexico they don't use very much cumin. The cumin reputation for Mexican food is really along the southwestern part of the United States, so about a half a teaspoon of that. I always like to grind cumin fresh. A lot of people say they like to toast it. Most of the people that I work with in Mexico do not toast their cumin, but if you're one of those that believes that toasted cumin has a much better flavor, then I think you're going to be toasting it here. Okay, so I've got that beautifully ground there, and the smell of it is really good. And then the last thing will be this Mexican oregano. I buy it always at the Mexican market, where it comes in the whole leaf version. So you have to crush it. So I'm going to crush it between my palms like that and right in there. We'll add a little bit of this soaking liquid to get this started in here. We don't want to make this too soft. We're going to add some water to the pan later on, but it's going to make a smooth puree. Okay, take this top off now, and we've got a smooth puree. This is a high-speed blender. So what I'm going to do here next is an optional step if you're using something like a Vitamix there. But if you're using any other kind of blender, you really want to strain it because the skins of guajillos are really, really tough and they're hard to blend up. But with a high-speed blender, you basically get a full puree, skins and all. At our restaurant, that's what we do. We just put it right into the pot. But I'm going to show you how that straining goes. You want a medium mesh strainer, not something that's really fine. And then press this through. I'm working over about a medium-high fire here. This is the same pan that I used for doing all of the browning of the meat, the toasting of the chilies, the cooking of the garlic. And this step is what makes this dish just sing. You're going to cook down the chili puree until it is like the consistency of tomato paste. That'll take 5 or 7 minutes, something like that. And that will concentrate the sweet in it, and it will balance the astringency of the chilies. That's what makes chili sauces taste really, really good. So I've gotten this now pressed through. I have virtually nothing left in my strainer. That's what I was hoping to find after really blending it thoroughly. But there's a little something that's left here. So we'll get rid of that, what's left in the strainer here. It's about, I would say maybe about half a tablespoon of chili skins there, something like that. Okay, so those guys are going to go away. I'm going to put it right here on top of the blender jar, and then I'm just going to stir this over that medium-high fire until it's really reduced and thick. This is really darkened in its color now, and man, the smell is so delicious. So I'm stirring that a lot through this whole process. I've measured out about a couple of cups of water here, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that water into the pan and stir everything to dissolve the cooked down chili paste into the water. Put the meat in there. Then I'm going to adjust my fire to kind of a medium-low to keep this at a nice simmer. Partially cover it like that, so there's a little steam escaping. That helps everything to move around very nicely in the pot. And then I'll meet you back here when that meat is tender. That should take 45 minutes to an hour. The nopales are really beautiful. My favorite way to cook nopales. Some people call this al vapor in Mexico, which sounds like they are steamed, but they're only steamed at the beginning, and then you boil off all the liquid that they exude, so that works really well. And so all of that is stirred in here. You want just enough sauce to coat all of this stuff, but you know, when you've got too saucy of a filling for tacos, nobody likes it because it just dribbles right out. Now, seasoning. It'll take a fair amount of salt here. So I'm going to put in someplace in the neighborhood of about a teaspoon of salt to start with, and then we'll taste it. Some people find the sort of astringency of the Guajillo chilies, nicely balanced with a little sugar. I usually like that strength, so I don't usually add any sugar to this at all. And even if you did add sugar, it would just be a pinch. It wouldn't be to make it taste sweet. Oh, I think I hit it. That is really, really good. Okay. So our next thing is to make tacos. So I've got warm tortillas here, and I'll put a couple of them down on a plate, and then spoon over some of our filling. This, as I said at the very beginning, is part of the tradition called tacos de guisados, and guisados are the stewed fillings. I always think of them as sort of grandma tacos because these are the kind of things that everyone's grandmother makes. A little bit of queso fresco here. You could use queso añejo for it if you wanted to. It's so delicious looking that I think I have to have a bite.